You're tuned in to Last Word Radio, lastwordonsports.com, and that is the last word.
This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York. Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
On the right sideline, Houston pops out up top, down the lane, running jumper off the front rim, and in.
Save! What a save by Lundqvist.
What up, New York sports-loving fans, and welcome to a new edition of Empire State Sports Talk for Monday, September 18th edition. I am Jason Burgos, and back with me, after his brush with Mother Nature's fury, is the one and only Hollywood Jose Maldonado. Jose, how are you doing after your brush with, the evils of Mother Nature?
I am alive, breathing and kicking, man. Dude, it was a little rough down here, man, a little touch and go. Sorry I couldn't make it for last week's show, but obviously there were dire circumstances. But thankfully everything's good, got the power back on, and the cleanup is in progress. So, yeah, should be good for another nice little hour of sports talk, get the mind off of, much darker times.
How long was your power out for?
Oh, we just got it back 2 days ago, Friday afternoon. Yeah, spent the pretty much the from Sunday to Friday powerless and hot. Jeez. And it's pretty rough. And there's a couple of people I know that just got it back last night. There's some people even still without power, man.
Wow. So how long was that? That's almost a week or just shy of a week. Yeah,
for sure. We had it for 5 days without power. And it's been a week now, and there's still people without power, man. It's Irma was no joke, man. She was
Does that affect the toilets?
Thankfully, the toilets were up and running.
What about regular faucet water?
No, it was good. It's funny because a lot of people. Yeah, no, most definitely. And we actually have a gas water heater.
Yeah.
So we actually were able to have hot water. There were people that had the electric and just taking cold showers and not a pretty situation. And it's funny. We got obviously a lot of the food spoiled and stuff during that time. So, but going shopping now is kind of pointless because a lot of the stores are just straight up empty. There's nothing. So
wow.
Yeah. But other than that, everything's fine.
So 5 days without porn, that had to be really tough.
Oh, man, the power of the imagination, my friend.
and old playboys.
There you go, man. Just pull them out of dust balls and give them some use.
Oh man. Well, moving on. Let's get right into it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Our weekly recap of the week in review in New York sports and beyond. Let's still talk quick about the Giants. The Giants do not play. They play tonight. We're recording as always on Sunday for a Monday morning. But they are going to be playing tonight. They're going to be playing the Detroit Lions. Now, some interesting things going into this game. Giants are 3-point favorites for their home opener, despite the despicable display they had in Dallas last week. The whole Odell Beckham situation is still very much up in the air. He said this week that his injury is like a 6 to 8 week long injury. I think they're probably in that 5 to 6 range at this point. I mean, so there's a 50-50 chance he may play this week. I mean, they need him, especially after they looked last week. And talk about how they looked last week. Bobby Hart could be out, adding to an already weakened line. I mean, it's not like he's like the best guy on the line, but he's a starter. So for a line that sucks pretty good, losing a starter is not a good thing at this point.
Oh, no, man. They're going to want to have all the tools at their disposal. And like you said, last week's loss was a heartbreaker. So they're going to want to look sharp coming into this game. But, with Beckham and, the line being questionable, that doesn't speak well for this week or going forward. I mean, if it does end up being in the 5 to 6 range for Beckham, that's a hell of a tool to lose and a lot of momentum to lose when they're already 0-1. So they really need to, regroup and see what they can do to save some face here.
And it was a shame that the effort last week. I mean, you feel that they have the tools to be better, but I tell you, it's an interesting thing, and we've talked about it. We talked about in the first few episodes in the preseason how these guys really do not work as much in the preseason as they did in decades past and getting chemistry. And I felt it was there in terms of when Eli did throw, it was mostly to Sterling Shepard, which is no surprise because that's the guy he's comfortable with. That's the guy he had last year. So guys like Brandon Marshall and Evan Ingram, who really needed to pick up the slack, or even the new tight end Ellison, the guys that needed to pick up the slack without Beckham, I don't think they've developed the chemistry for them to pick up the slack yet.
Yeah, now that's a real good observation, man, and it's something to watch going forward. I don't know if it's, like you said, they just didn't get that gelling going before the season started. I mean, this is no time to be working out those kinks. That's kind of what the preseason was for. But if they don't start producing, man, with Manning's top weapon, Beckham, questionable at best, it's not going to be pretty going forward, man. Because like we said, the running game is not their strongest suit, and that line is holding up the best it could. But if the passing game isn't there, if Manning's not comfortable with his targets, it's going to be a long season.
Yeah, and it's not like the Cowboys' defense is good, they're solid, but they're not a great defense, and to be overrun and in constant pressure and under siege at a lot of points during the game, it's not a good sign. I mean, it's talked about, in a lot of places this week leading up to this game. If they were not good versus a LK defensive line, what the heck are they going to do against a really good line? And, it doesn't get any easier this week. I mean, Detroit had a nice win last week against Arizona, despite having the likes of Carson Palmer as their starter, are still a pretty good team. And that's a good win for them. This is not going to be an easy game for the Giants at home. They did go 0-2 in the 2007 Super Bowl year, but that's not the optimal way you want to start a season, and it's not a good place for them to be. Luckily, they got some help from the Denver Broncos today, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But you don't want to start 0-2. I mean, you don't want to start digging yourself holes if you're going to have an offense that's going to be so-so all year. You don't want to put the pressure on the defense, and I've watched many a Giants team that put pressure on the defense, and they just wore their defense out by the end of the year.
Yeah, no, like you said, this is it's a really short season, the NFL, and you want to get as many wins early on as you can to kind of ease the tension going forward. So starting off 0-2, not where you want to be, but hopefully they can turn it around, and maybe Monday night will be the beginning of that.
Now, hopefully the Giants will not be 0-2 and matching the resident 0-2 New York team that is the brilliant New York Jets. Go down 45 to 20. I'm surprised they even got 20 against the Raiders. I mean, no shocker here. I think most people should have put their money on the Raiders this week. That was a guaranteed bet in any knockout pool. Josh McCown, 17 of 25. Now, he only had 166 yards, did throw 2 touchdowns. He actually had a 113 passer rating, so he was, he did a good job with the ball. He didn't waste his opportunities, but he didn't make much of them anyway because he didn't seem to have much time and much around him, and it was dink and dunk levels with Jermaine Kearse leading the way. That's outstanding trade pickup by the Jets. Jermaine Kearse had another 64 yards to lead the receivers and with receiving yards and the 2 touchdowns from McCown. I mean, what really is there to say about the Jets at this point?
I just want to go on record saying that I am shocked at this defeat. I had the Jets all the way. Absolutely not. No, come on, man. Let's be serious. I mean, yeah, like you said, this was a gimme for anybody. And we talked, for weeks before the season started, how the Jets were going to be, bottom dwellers. This was not a good look for them. And they, unfortunately, it's coming to fruition, man. I mean, it is the Raiders who are one of the top picks this year, but 45 points is a hard loss to take, man. The Jets, I mean, they're a hot mess right now. I mean, they're a team looking for an identity, just anything to grasp onto to look at the positives. But starting off 0-2 with losses like this, it's not looking good, man. It's not looking good, and especially it's just that we like to kick them while they're down, but it's just there really isn't a whole lot of upside to this team right now. Like you said, McCown had a decent game at best, but 166 yards is just not a lot. The offense is is pretty much non-existent. It's a surprise they got 20 points, and the defense, which was maybe going to be the silver lining of their season, just gave up. It just gave a 45 to Oakland.
Exactly,
So
and no disrespect to Oakland. Oakland has a good defense. A good offense. They have a young star quarterback who may be one of the best in the next decade. Good receivers, a good running back now with Marshawn Lynch. But this isn't the Patriots. This isn't a high-flying offense. So you said it perfectly when you mentioned it. This was the defense was the one hope. Maybe people were hoping with the draft picks, the high draft pick at safety, Wilkerson, Williams, that okay, the defense maybe they'll do it. They'll keep them sort of in games and they won't get embarrassed. And I mean, that's absolutely what did not happen today. With their team. Carr makes it look easy. 23 of 28, very economical, 220 yards. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, a 136 passer rating. It's McCown's hit 5 times and many passes defended, 4 sacks. It's just another just sad display on what will be a sad display tour going out through our beautiful country for the New York Jets this season.
Oh, yeah, man. They are coming to a town near you. Get your tickets if you're looking for your home team to get a blowout and you want to be present for it.
They're like the perfect pick for anybody that's in knockout pools and you have to pick a team every week. Just look for whoever is playing the Jets for the most part. If they're a good team and they're going against the Jets, you got a good chance if you haven't used them in your pool yet. A little tip from the non-knockout pool player, but they're going to look for whoever's playing the Jets because they're probably going to lose. And then also, you always have to factor this in with football. Every season, every team gets injuries. So there's a good chance few good players the Jets actually do have, they'll get injured. Some of them. So it'll be even worse.
Yeah, if anything, the Jets are just making your fantasy life a whole lot easier.
Unless you have Jets on your team, and they're just making your life a nightmare.
Well, in that case, it's making it's making your job a lot easier in the sense of who to bench before the week even starts. So,
it's that clear. If you have any of them starting, you clearly know what positions you need in a trade or free agency. Because if you got Jets starting for you, you need a fix. Hopefully you don't have any Jets starting for your quarterback. Then you're really just screwed, and you may just want to quit this league.
Yeah, you might as well just have a question mark in that starting position, man. And you'd probably be better off. I'm sure they could drop 200 unlike McCown. Yeah, so.
Oh, my goodness. Moving on from the Jets to some interesting stories from around the league. Going on right now, I'm sure you will not be happy about going into halftime at the Falcons' new stadium. The Falcons are putting a bit of an ASS whooping on your Green Bay Packers, leading 24-7 at the half right now.
Not happy about that at all. Yeah, I'm keeping tabs on the game here. And right before the half, Atlanta just dropped a touchdown on them, really starting to pull away here. And, it's taken every little bit of my being not to swear or cuss or toss the microphone across the room right now. So, just woosah, a little self-control. And
Matt Stopsky, our radio manager and host for the show that follows us, he did mention there's no F-bombs are allowed, but you can be a little colorful from here and there. So you have some leeway in your anger right now if you need it.
Well, in that case, there may be a few dropping shortly. Thankfully, they are at the halftime break, so maybe I can cool off in the meantime. But not looking good for the Packer Nation right now.
200 yards for Matt Ryan at halftime, 95 for Julio Jones. Holy, what? Yeah. Wow, 200, damn. It was funny. Just last week, everybody's like, man, that Packers D looked pretty good against Seattle. Nah, the Packers D is probably just the Packers D. Seattle's probably just not that good this year, considering they just they beat the lowly 49ers 12-9 today. So, it wasn't the Packers D. It's just that the Seattle Seahawks offense is terrible.
Yeah, it's funny, you go to a freaking Seahawks 49ers game and a baseball game breaks out, So... But, I don't know what to make of this one. And hopefully it's comeback city in the second half. I'm not holding my breath because Atlanta is a good team, and I don't see them giving up this lead. But, hey, stranger things have happened, man. But, Ryan's looking pretty sharp. And, honestly, that new stadium's looking pretty sharp, man.
I haven't seen how it looked yet. I heard the word was that it's not maybe not the Cowboys, but it's supposed to be on par pretty close.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Nothing's touching AT&T Stadium. Jerry, Uncle Jerry, really busts out the wallet for that beauty. But it's funny. I was watching the Alabama-Florida State game a couple weeks ago for opening night, and they played it in that stadium. And it's top notch, man. Very cool facilities out there in Atlanta.
That's unbelievable that Jerry, what do you expect? You know, he's going to shell out the big bucks. He's going to have a good stadium. But freaking Atlanta and supposedly the Vikings' new stadium are fantastic. Yet we got two teams here that put money together and made MetLife. It's all right. Like, I haven't been in person yet, but all indication for everybody that has been is the word is it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, what I hear is that it's massive, like just this huge stadium that can hold a crap ton of people. But outside of that, yeah, like you said, it's nice. It's nice. And New York doesn't do nice.
That's the one solace in when the Mets, during their really rough years, including this year, when they had City, at least City's a beautiful stadium. You know, yeah, the team was sucked and it was terrible, but you know, I enjoyed it. You can go to the museum down the first floor. I have gone to games and just walked around because you know there's really no point watching the games those years because they were losing anyway. But so you can just walk around, enjoy the ambiance. You know, from what I hear, MetLife isn't an ambiance kind of stadium.
Not so much, man. You know, I am going to use one of my S words right here real quick, just because, you know, when the Mets new stadium opened, obviously it's called Citi Field. You know, as a Yankee fan, the jokes were just too easy, you know, calling it Shitty Field.
Come on, with the bank. The freaking Yankee stadium is like a bank from outside. It's like a pyramid or what is this? Come on.
You know, and you're absolutely right on that.
They have a meat market inside. What is that?
You know, I can't even argue with you. It's the truth. But, you know, honestly, it was just such a gimme. I used to call it Shitty Field up until I went. And I can't call it that anymore. Honestly, God, it's a beautiful, beautiful stadium. Citi Field is really top notch. You know, it feels like a baseball stadium. It's just so cool. And it, you know, nods to the Mets history and all that. It's what Yankee Stadium, what I wish the new Yankee Stadium would be. But yeah, what I hear the same reports as you, that MetLife Stadium is this massive building, but you know, it's a missed opportunity.
That sucks. That your best compliment is the LED systems or the food or it's big.
It's big.
It's
yeah,
big,
really. That's
you know. It's strong and big. You know, you want to go. It's big. But moving on to some other stuff in the NFL. The Chiefs and led by Andy Reid get some sweet revenge. I believe this is the first time he's faced this old Eagles team as the Chiefs win 27-20. Against his team. The Chiefs move to 2-0. I mean, but in a losing effort, Wentz gets 330 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I kind of feel happy for Andy Reid, despite him torturing my soul for many years with the Eagles. I don't think he got the proper respect he ever got as the guy always being in the NFC Championship games. Him and McNabb looked on as also ran. So I kind of feel happy for him when the Chiefs being now 2-0 and beating the Eagles, because it helps my team, and he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Andy Reid, I think, was very underappreciated, you know, and a little bit of sweet revenge here. And, you know, it's obviously too early to make a bold statement, but the Chiefs appear to be the goods. I mean, you know, 2-0, but that first W, man, that was against the New England Patriots. Yep. So that was a very impressive opening night win, and they're keeping the momentum going. But, yeah, now Andy Reid is a big, you know, you can't underestimate how successful he has been. I mean, you know, the Eagles were really successful in his years as head coach, and now he's bringing a winning culture to the Chiefs, who haven't had a winning culture in recent years. So, you know, for Kansas City fans, this is exciting times, man. They're looking pretty good. And Alex Smith is a revelation, man. I mean, this dude is you know, just lighting it up over there in KC. I mean, I'm guessing freaking 49ers fans are wondering what the heck was going on over there in San Fran when he was there. But,
I mean, that's my only beef with him, because I don't believe in Alex Smith. I mean, this is the same guy. I think it was maybe 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago, he didn't have like a touchdown to a wide receiver till like week 15 or something like that. Like, I just don't believe in Alex Smith. I mean, everybody can, you know, put lipstick on a pig, and not to say he's a pig and he sucks. I mean, he's a good, solid game manager. He's fine, but he's the guy. He's the weak link, man. That's the thing that I mean, he's gonna have to prove a lot for anybody to really take them seriously as a team that could beat the Patriots or even the Raiders. Because in this day and age, it's a quarterback league. I mean, it's always kind of been a quarterback league, but it's a quarterback league more than ever. And he's in a conference with some pretty good quarterbacks. That's the only guy I worry about with that ton.
And that's fair, because, you know, like you said, you know, for him to come to Kansas City, is it him or is it the system? And right now, it does appear it's the system until proven otherwise. And, you know, the proving ground is the playoffs, man. You know, they managed to get into the playoffs. He has to be that leader to get them all the way. And
speaking of Tom Brady, the Patriots bounced back from their surprising loss to the Chiefs last week with a 36-20 win over the Saints. The Saints now move to 0-2. Brady a very impressive 30 of 39 for 447 yards, 3 touchdowns. Big Gronk gets 116 yards of that. I think more than anything, the bigger story to me is, one, the Saints are now 0-2, and this Adrian Peterson project is not looking good. He had 18 yards rushing last week, a whopping 26 this week. That combo of Peterson and Breeze is looking a poo-poo right now.
Very well put, man. I mean, AP is a Hall of Famer for sure whenever he decides to call, to hang him up. But the Saints have never been about the running game, at least not with Breeze there. And, I'm sure they had high hopes and high expectations to at least, kind of rectify that. But that team is a pass-first team, man. So, seeing Peterson nothing against Peterson, but, he's getting a little up there. He's not the Peterson that he was, 5 years ago in his prime. So it's just doesn't seem to be working out. And New Orleans is on the fence, man. I mean, unless they have a massive turnaround from here on out, this might not be a good year, and they might be on the outside looking in.
And they were a perennial good team every single year. And this is not to say that Drew Brees is not still good. He's still good, but there were two main factors that completely changed their luck ever since. And at one, it was this moron with the what was that? The whole, I forgot what the media name was, but having guys get money to taking out certain players on the other team. Vilmo's a part of it and all this stuff. That really hurt them and set them back. That started the ball rolling in the wrong direction. And I know why they moved Jimmy Graham. They probably didn't want to pay him the big money, but that was a bad. It worked out for Noah because he hasn't gone to Seattle and done well. The guy was magic with Drew Brees, and now he was on the level of Gronkowski, which is saying something. And to lose that, if they would have had Jimmy Graham still, and then maybe Peterson, that's a lot of threats, and Brees can work with a so-so offense. But after those two events happened, it's just been a downward movement for the Saints, and they just have not been that same team. I don't know what the hell they were doing when they moved Jimmy Graham, but it's backfired. But my favorite game of the week, Cowboys Broncos. Broncos put that ass whooping on the Cowboys, 42-17. Broncos, yes baby. I'm not a Broncos fan. I love it.
I take it you're a little happy with that result there.
Oh, Prescott, 30 of 50 for 238. How do you see, I don't understand. I heard this a lot on certain places last week. Oh, Prescott, he looked good versus the Giants. No, he didn't. There was a lot of throws in that game that were just complete misses. Eli did the same thing, but whatever, it is what it is. But Prescott, he's not impressive. I'm sorry, I'm not on board the Prescott train. To me, he's like a young Alex Smith. And Alex Smith was also a pretty good runner. He can scramble. He can extend plays too. He still can. But he's a game manager. Prescott, and I'll give Prescott credit. He's a leader. People like him. They feel he's a leader. People will follow him as long as he's winning. But if they start losing because of him, he ain't going to be that good of a leader anymore. So I'm not impressed with Prescott. Ezekiel Elliott doesn't do much this week. I don't know if he got injured. I didn't get to get all the stats, but he only had 9 attempts rushing. So, I mean, maybe it just was they were behind early. But 238, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. C.J. Anderson runs for 118 yards. I mean, the Broncos. I think most people expect the Chiefs and the Raiders to be the cream of the crop in the West, but the Broncos are making a case for themselves with Simeon to a team that did not take lightly, and that's a stomping of a win by the Broncos against the Cowboys this week.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I mean, this is a statement game for the Broncos and a statement game in the wrong direction for the Cowboys. I mean, you mentioned how they got the W over the Giants last week, and then this week they got completely exposed. I mean, 50 attempts for your man Prescott for Prescott out there, man. That's a whole lot of throws out there with not a whole lot of production. Yeah. And Elliott, by all accounts, gave one of the worst performances of his career. So I don't know what was going on there, but the Cowboys, this may not be the team that everybody thought they were last year. And you said there might be some kinks in the armor. They may be starting to show, man. I mean, hopefully for Cowboys fans, Dak Prescott, hopefully he goes more the Russell Wilson route and not the RG3 route, because if he had a very impressive first year and then just washes out, it would have all been for naught, that whole Tony Romo drama, man, and that'd be a real shame.
And the thing is, they have to maximize the games they have with Ezekiel Elliott. They kind of need to win as many as they can, if not all of them, because he is going to be suspended. You can take that stuff to the bank. He's going to be suspended at some point. Maybe it's not 6. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4. But the further we get down the road and the more important the games get, these are going to be 3 or 4 or more games. They're not going to be with him, and they're going to really have to rely on Prescott, and then they're really going to be in trouble, especially if they can become divisional games, stuff like that. So it's a dicey thing for the Cowboys, but I don't feel bad for them at all. The other game and to mention is Steelers whoop the Vikings 26-9. Big Ben goes for 243. What a shocker! The Steelers are a good team again. Stunning development. Didn't see this one coming.
Yeah, I tell you, man, the Steelers are like Captain Consistency, man. You can chalk them right up with New England in terms of teams that you can bank on. I mean, Mike Tomlin has worked magic in his tenure there. That's a head coach I can get behind, man. And I mean, the Steel Curtain, they've won what, I think 1 or 2 Super Bowls under his watch. I
think just one. I think because Ben has 2, he lost 1. He got 1 with Cowher early. And then he got another one. He was Tomlin was the Cardinals Super Bowl, I believe.
I got you. And they also took an L against the Packers in the Super Bowl. I do remember that was good stuff. But no, Pittsburgh, I got nothing against nothing against Pittsburgh. It's good stuff. And they're looking at another successful campaign. And I'm just watching Atlanta score another touchdown on a horrible play against Green Bay. If they do rule it a touchdown, because man, that was ugly. If it holds. Rodgers, I have no idea what you're thinking on that one, but I'll be shedding tears over here. Let's just put it that way.
All right, now this is one of the parts of the show to end, or to get close to the end of segment one that I really wanted to get into, a real juicy piece of fun conversation that was going on this week. ESPN comes out with their yearly preseason rankings of all of the NBA players, 1 to 100. Now, let me preface this by saying, they have certain guidelines they put, that, and this is straight from ESPN.com. To get the final ranking, we asked our expert panel to vote on pairs of players, like Kevin Durant versus LeBron James, Kyrie Irving versus John Wall, Russell Westbrook versus James Harden. We asked which player would be better in 2017-2018. To decide, voters had to consider both the quality and quantity of each player's contributions to his team's ability, and this is key, and who we're going to talk about, his team's ability to win games. Now, the story for us here in New York, Carmelo Anthony ranked 64. Not 16, not 26, not 36, not 46. 64 out of 100 players. Wow.
Let me tell you something, man. I'm glad you emphasized that key about, contributing to their team's ability to win games, because without that, this is outrageous.
Yes.
It's ludicrous. It's crazy to me that, Melo would rank this low. But taking that into account, that's the only validity I can see in this, because let's be honest, the Knicks have been an absolute train wreck minus 1 season under Melo. But, Carmelo Anthony, there's a lot of hate that gets thrown on this dude. And a lot of it, him being a selfish player, him not being a defensive player. But let me tell you, Carmelo Anthony is maybe the most underappreciated superstar in this generation, because when he is on, he is one of the most dynamic scorers in the game. I mean, he's just an absolute offensive beast. The problem is, does he make his teammates better? And it's proven that it just has not been. I mean, outside of one season with Denver where they were, right there, almost kissing the finals, and they lost in the conference finals. But outside of that, Melo has just not been able to get his teams over the hump. Now, it can't all rest on his shoulders, because the Knicks have had a lot of mismanagement, and, they sold the farm to get him here, so it's kind of hard to recoup from that. And one of the players that we'll be talking about was one of the guys given away to Denver for Melo. But, it's really sad that Carmelo hasn't had the success that he's had, with the skill set that he's had. But on the other hand, there's just no getting around it, man. The teams that he's been on have not been as successful, and a lot of that, when you're the star on the team, you got to take the brunt of that. And being ranked number 64 is one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard the numbers, I was like, holy shit, like, wow, that's crazy. And then I saw that information. It's about wins, and I was like, yeah, exactly, pretty much everything you said. I thought it's about wins, and the last few years they've been a garbage team. He's been there for a lot of it, so you can't be, he missed the whole season twice or whatever. He's been there for a lot of it. I mean, I was still stunned to see some of the teams. Some of the players in front of him. Like, one of the guys. I mean, here's 4 players. Now I'm going to get to this one player I'm going to say the guy who's directly in front of him last, but one guy in front of him is Robert Covington. What? Come on, come on, man. Robert Covington on the good teams on the bench. Just stop it. Danny Green, I know local guy, but come on, I know Danny Green's a nice player, but you know what? Freaking Popovich is one of those guys like Bill Belichick. He makes guys like a lot better than they really are. Let's be real. Danny Green, he just shoots threes. And this is coming from a person that is no defender of Carmelo. Of all the New York teams I've loved over the years, he's probably the star of one of my favorite teams. I like the least. I just don't like Carmelo. I feel he's overrated. But another guy, Danilo Gallinari, the guy, how much of a punch in the gut is that for even Knicks fans or even Carmelo, because I'm sure he has a massive ego. The guy you got traded for, who can barely stay healthy, got a fat contract and is ranked higher than you on this list. Like, Danilo, come on. Danilo Gallinari is all right. He's not a star. He's never even been an all-star. How is that possible? And the Denver hasn't been good. Denver's been a whack team too the last few years. The one that stuns me, and I don't get, because in the end, Carmelo, even despite all the guidelines, he should probably be in the 40s still. How is Lonzo Ball, who hasn't even played a minute, higher than Carmelo Anthony, who's like, what, a 8-9-time All-Star? That makes no damn sense to me.
It's really hard to take a list like this seriously with stuff like that going on. Like
and the players certainly do. The players do, and the fans do, which is the funniest thing all about it.
I mean, come on now. What, Lonzo Ball, he had an impressive summer league?
Yeah,
and all of a sudden that makes him better than a freaking 8-9-time All-Star, future Hall of Famer? Come on. Now, this is outrageous. The four guys that you named, hey, credit to them. I'm sure they're contributing to their teams. But line them up against Carmelo Anthony, I'm taking Melo every single time out of the gate, man. Like you said, with Danny Green, it's a situation of Popovich and that system, how successful they've been. Pretty much anybody that goes into the Spurs can flourish. Gallinari, like you said, when he's healthy, great player, but I'm not taking him over Melo. And that Lonzo Ball one, man, that really got to me. It's like, really? This dude has not played a minute? I mean, if you're talking about his dad's freaking, his pension for getting attention, then absolutely he's top of the list. But there's no way I'm taking any of these cats over Melo. Even with that disclaimer about the wins, to me, Melo is way too low on this list.
And part of it, I get it. They want attention, and they want some controversy because it's going to bring attention to the list. It's going to bring clicks. It's going to bring interest and conversation. But it also, to me at least, it takes away any credibility to what they're talking about. How can you, honestly, why would you just not have rookies on the list? That's an easy out. Like, look, none of these guys plays. We're not putting them on the list. So where's Fultz then? And that no one picked. What is he, top 15? I mean, how are you ranking on potential? If that's the case, how do you know all of a sudden, because, I mean, he's still been in the playoffs, that potentially the Knicks have a better year. Maybe something happens where they work better together. Maybe it was Phil Jackson, and they potentially have a playoff year with Carmelo leading the way. Like, that makes just no sense. Like, why? They should not even be on the list. Like, how many NBA players especially get drafted in this league and suck? And they have all this potential and star-studdedness, and they whack. Like, that makes no sense. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like you said, it should have been excluded from the list, because if you're going to put something on there that talks about, proving, helping your team win, you can't base that on potential. You have to base that on statistical facts. And the fact that they have not played a single regular season game should exclude them from that list, man. So I don't know what they would think with that.
And it's like, if you're putting in, who's better for the winning? So you're telling me if Carmelo was on the Lakers, like, he wouldn't help that team win? Like, Lonzo Ball's gonna have so you're pretty much telling me Lonzo Ball and that group are gonna have a better year than the Knicks? I mean, maybe, but if you put Carmelo that group and Luke Walton, you tell me he can't be better? I don't know, nonsense. But I mean, and continue to Knicks news to wrap up segment one here. Charles Oakley files a civil lawsuit against the Madison Square Garden, continuing this ongoing drama for February. I mean, it's even more kind of weird too, and it's really silly to me, is that, I mean, this comes a month after Knicks legend accepted a plea deal to drop the 4 misdemeanor charges filed against him, which would include assault and aggravated harassment. Dude, you just took a plea to drop this, so you're still going to bring up a suit to try to get paid. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's so much more to it. Maybe Charles really does feel that he was, offended and he was wronged here and there was a lot of injustice. But, I mean, there's no clear evidence so far that proves this happened. So what do you think's going to happen? Like, you're not going to out-lawyer Madison Square Garden and James Dolan. What do you hope to get out of this? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, this is an ugly situation on both ends. Definitely not a fan of Dolan, but and it was wrong with the way Oakley was treated. But on the other hand, at some point you just got to let it go. And like you said, he took a plea to drop the charges. Just let it fade into obscurity. But I guess he wants to prove a point about how the treatment of the players and just people in general from that organization starting at the top. So I guess that's what he's out to prove. But man, I wouldn't have touched this, man. I would have let this go and just, let bygones be bygones. But I guess, it's not my place to say, man. Like you said, maybe there is something more there, something a little more personal. And he's going to ride this out as far as he could and kind of drag Dolan's name further into the mud than it already is.
And the unfortunate thing is, like, for example, with the Mets, the 86 team is highly revered. They're always returning. Yeah. Or even Mike Piazza is highly revered. They're always returning. Mike Piazza is always at the stadium. It's fun as a Mets fan to always look back at the Tom Seavers and look back and appreciate history. And like with the Knicks and that 90s group, I mean, you have elements there, but weird elements. Like Allen Houston's in the front office. Like, I guess he had the shot in Miami, that we use in the beginning of our intro. But he's not one of those key guys. He's not Charles Oakley. He's not Anthony Mason. John Starks. Like, John Starks works with the organization good. Like, Ewing is kind of around when he's in the building as a coach. It's weird that there's such a crappy relationship and with the history of those 90s teams and what the Knicks are rolling out there now. And it's just, you wish you could see that blending a lot more. And there was especially some of those guys, not Herb Williams on the coaching staff. I mean, it's unfortunate why guys like Charles Oakley or some of these guys, John Starks, are not on the coaching staff. Or Patrick Ewing has not yet been hired as an assistant or even given an opportunity to try for the job. It's just... It's a damn shame. I mean, but let's move on to segment 2 and talk a little baseball now. The Yankees have been. I didn't get to see this. Did the Yankees win today?
They took an L today, I think.
Okay, all right. So in their last 10, they're still 7-3 in their last 10 games. I mean, that's still pretty damn impressive. I think one of the key things, and I know you have to be excited for, considering how August was. They weren't looking good. The offense really picking it up in 7 of those 10 wins. 7 of those wins, scored 16, 13, 8, and 9 runs. And the offense is really starting to get it going.
Music to my ears, man, and it couldn't come at a better time, man. I mean, the Yankees have been getting it together and starting to look like the team that they looked in the first half of the season, and that's what they're gonna need, man. I mean, for the wild card, it seems like they're putting it away. It's not a lock by any means, but they're 4 games in front for that first wild card spot. And, I mean, as good as they've been lately, they just can't seem to get ground on Boston. That's the only thing that sucks about this whole scenario. They're still 3 games back. But, they look like they're playoff bound by all intents and purposes. And they've been looking ferocious offensively, which they need to. So, I'm real happy with the results, at least, for this past week or so.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the keys is no shocker. I mean, he was a key part in the first half. Is Aaron Judge is having a far better September than his August, which was a damn disaster. I mean, the average is so-so, 239 in September, but still better than, I believe, the 185 he was hitting in August. But 6 home runs, 14 RBIs. Now, it begs the question, I mean, we're at the 150s of the games. They have less than double digits games left. The season's close to closing in to be over. Now, I'm sure for most people, the obvious gut choice, if you're choosing a New York Yankees MVP this year, is Aaron Judge. But I asked the question of, is there maybe other options as possible MVP? Now, Aaron Judge, for the season, 275, 43 home runs, 96 RBIs. Fantastic. That's outstanding. Has played pretty good defense. Now, these 2 options I'm throwing out there, I think they're not as appreciated, especially this guy. Didi Gregorius hitting 295, 23 home runs and 80 RBIs out of a shortstop spot, which has gone back to what we are used to, where shortstops aren't big hitters like they were in the 90s into 2000s. They're back to hitting 16 teens home runs, 70 RBIs. The guy's got 23 home runs, and to boot, the guy plays Gold Glove level defense.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, outstanding. The other guy to ponder here in this question is Severino pitching 2.93 ERA, 13-6, 218 Ks. So you personally, who do you think is the who has been the MVP for the Yankees this year?
Man, this was a much easier question to answer 2 months ago. I mean, it would have been without question Aaron Judge. It's a little bit tougher now. Like you said, Didi's been putting up a great year, and, it has the defensive ability to boot. Severino's been awesome. He's been living up to that potential. Honestly, I'm still going with Judge for the MVP of the season. The home run numbers today, he's been starting to pick it up. And the first half of the season, he was just an absolute beast without question. He was one of the main reasons we're in this position to begin with. So I'm still going with Judge, although it's not as much of a runaway as it was earlier on. And I'm just glad that he's picking it up now, and we're going to need him in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point. It was obvious 2 months ago, but it's really close. I mean, part of me wants to go DD because Judge has been great. You can't deny 46 home runs, 93. That's a stellar. That's amazing. But DD was still there playing great D, getting big hits in a period where the offense in general was very sluggish. They weren't playing as good. They weren't winning as many games. But that guy, he's been a stabilizing player the entire year, hitting 295. It's a fascinating trade, especially if he ends up winning a Gold Glove. If he hits, 25 home runs, closer to 87, near 90 RBIs, that's really, really impressive. Yeah, my gut probably says Judge, but boy, it's fascinating. Either way, 3 really good and all young players for the Yankees, give them a lot of reason to be very excited for the next decade, because this is the Yankees. None of those guys, as long as they want them, are going anywhere. So along with Aaron Sanchez, it's just the Yankees have some really good things going on. The Sons of God damn it. But,
come on.
Now, moving on to the team that just really tortures my soul like a Jets fan. Thankfully, I'm not a Jets fan. But the Mets are playing out the string at this point, not doing it very well. I mean, the only bright spots at this point to look forward to, and let's just get through this suffering very quickly, is DeGrom, 15 strikeouts and a 7-3 win against the Braves Saturday. I mean, the true only bright spot in this season. DeGrom, the only guy you can really love. I mean, DeGrom has been phenomenal. How can you just not love and appreciate this guy? But the other bright spot right now, Dominic Smith. He's having a fantastic September right now. After in August, which is his first month in the league, I mean, you can't really expect too much. There's a lot of pressure on him. He's one of these big-time prospects after the team are hoping to anchor the franchise for years to come. He hit 164 in August, nothing spectacular. But in September, he's hitting .315 with 4 home runs and 14 RBIs. I mean, that's kind of on par with what Aaron Judge is doing over for the Yankees with an even better average, and it's only halfway through the month that he's got these numbers. Also to boot, Amed Rosario is also hitting .357 through 28 at-bats with 7 runs scored. So, this is what you have to hope for as a Mets fan. These 2 key, massive prospects for them finish the year strong and get their feet wet, get some experience in the league, and hopefully start becoming building blocks going into 2018.
Yeah, no, this is what they're all about, rounding out the season, just seeing where they're at in terms of their young prospects. And it's good to see Dominic Smith picking it up. Yeah, we can write off the first month, maybe to, jitters of making it to the big, to the big show, but he's starting to produce like they were expecting him to this month. And yeah, I love the fact that DeGrom has recovered. Last year, injury-plagued season. Syndergaard picked it up last year, and Syndergaard, they kind of reversed roles this year. He's been out. But, to see DeGrom, 15 Ks, looking mighty sharp. This is the ace that they're going to want going forward, because Lord knows Harvey fell off. But, I'm a fan of DeGrom too, so I'm glad to see that he's been picking it up. He is very much a bright spot for that organization.
And speaking of aces, because nothing can go right for the Mets, the ace who hasn't pitched since April, Syndergaard, was supposed to come back this week, but the lat muscle's acting a little funky. But the belief is he's supposed to come back this week coming up. They kind of need it. They need him to come back, finish out the season, see if he can get 2-3 starts or fit it in there, and just be Syndergaard at the end and give you a reason to go, just one of those weird years. You got a bad injury that just hampered him, a lost season. At least you didn't lose him, hopefully, in the season next year. That's supposed to be better. But, yeah, they got to get him in there. Hopefully he pitches well. Moving on from the Mets, thank God. Moving on to a topic that I always love, and that's MMA. This week, we've talked about on the show previously in previous episodes about Jon Jones and his positive urine test for PEDs, which was turinabol. after his win against Daniel Cormier and UFC 214. Now, there was a question of, his camp was defending the idea of a tainted sample. Now, that's been pretty much put to bed in that they tested his B sample, because when they do these tests, they get multiple samples of a person's either urine or blood, because USADA is the doping agency for the UFC, so they're very thorough. And the B sample also came back positive for turinabol. Stunning in that not originally it was thought to be a 2-year ban based off of this, but because of the substance, because of it, even though USADA makes the point, they're gonna go through due process. He has due process. He's innocent until proven guilty on this one. I mean, but either way, it's not looking good because he has been stripped by the UFC. Daniel Cormier has been awarded the title back. But it's looking like a possible 4-year ban as a second-time offender for Jon Jones. Unfathomable that a superstar, the best fighter on the planet, putting himself in the debate for best ever, will miss 4 prime years of his career.
Absolute shame, man. We've touched on it on the show before how this is a really unfortunate situation, and it just keeps getting worse and worse, man. But at this point, it's just inexcusable. It's hard to feel sorry for the dude when he was embraced, given a second chance. People were rooting on him to come back, reclaim that throne as the best maybe of all time, and then he lays this on us. Coming off the greatest victory of his career and the defining, what should have been the defining moment. And now this is what he's going to be remembered for. Just so much wasted potential, so much just talent, flushed down the drain. I don't know what he was thinking, man. I really don't. I mean, this was the face of MMA, of UFC, and now it's tarnished. 4 years from now, who knows if he'll even be welcome back, man. I mean, really.
I mean, what do you do? Like 4 years, like you're only 30 years old, like you've been the superstar, you're making tons of money, you're looking good. Like, where do you go? Because he can't rely on sponsors anymore. They're gone. Like, all that stuff's gone. Like,
nobody's going to touch him.
Like, how do you have this set career and all of a sudden your career is not available? Like, he can't go fight anywhere else in the state. If he chose to fight overseas and he got desperate, he'd really be screwed, because then the UFC would just, I mean, not the UFC, but the athletic commissions here in the States would just continue, like, make his suspension start again from those dates, because he hasn't, because they want it to be global. So if he did that, that would be dicey. And he could do it, but boy, it wouldn't look good. I mean, his career is completely questionable now. What do you go do now? Like, what's he gonna go be, a trainer? He doesn't. I don't. As far as I know, he doesn't have a degree in anything. Like, that's crazy that he would put himself and his family in such a situation. I mean, and we're talking about too because the guy's a New Yorker. He's from upstate New York. So was Rashad Evans. So it's unfortunate for us as New Yorkers to have maybe had the best fighter of all time coming from our state, and now it's completely tarnished. But I want to give big ups to the guys at Law MMA, Longo and Weidman MMA in Long Island, which I just visited yesterday and got to talk to their esteemed strength and conditioning coach Tony Ricci, who's the strength and conditioning coach for stars like Chris Weidman, and that camp representing New York City, doing it clean, having winners, having champions, and doing it the right way, unlike what Mr. Jones is doing, so it's just a stunning shame. But let's continue our fight business combat sports conversation, because last night cannot be denied, a massive fight. But I mean, for you guys listening on the Monday morning, this recording Sunday, this happened on Saturday, but the Canelo Alvarez Gennady Golovkin fight. I mean, first I just want to say delivered on all levels. Phenomenal fight. Before I get into my thoughts, did you watch the fight?
Honestly, did not watch the fight.
Oh, no.
I know. There's one thing I wanted to catch. I was keeping tabs on it, but just couldn't get around to catching the fight. Like, there's a lot going on, unfortunately, and I missed out on it. But I heard basically what you said, man. I heard it delivered on all counts.
Yeah, and I mean, it's controversial, though. I mean, that's the unfortunate thing coming out of this fight. Now, I'm not firmly in the camp of controversy. I mean, well, there is controversy, but I tell you, I missed the first couple of rounds trying to get it on. I did watch the last 10. Fantastic fight. Let me just get that out the way first before I get into the whole controversy thing. The fight delivered on all levels, and that's not something that happens regularly. Now, Andre Ward and Kovalov in their first fight, and even the second fight delivered, but they're not as beloved stars as Golovkin and Canelo, which is stunning because in Vegas, a place that if there's going to be Mexican fighter in the building, it's going to be Mexican represented almost 100%. There were audible, notable Triple G chants during that fight. That just shows you, for a guy that's from Kazakhstan, very popular in the U.S., very popular in Canelo's, very popular. But the fight delivered like few mega fights do. The fight was strategic, tactical. I mean, it was a war. I mean, it was a grind, like a really physical fight. Very, very minimal holding. The only holding was like in the 12th round because they're getting tired. Some guys are taking some good shots. I mean, both of them shows amazing chin, especially Canelo. This guy, Golovkin, was a monster going forward, taking shots that fell guys like Amir Khan and other men like James Kirkland, eating it and saying, "Please, sir, may I have another after I come after you?" Like, it just amazing fight. I love the fight. The controversy, because I honestly, I was kind of like, I wasn't sure who won. Like, I thought I figured split decision. So when I knew it was split decision, I was like, okay, figure that. Wasn't sure on the fight. Golovkin, Canelo, I mean, I could have went either way. But the big controversy is one judge scores it 118, 110, for Canelo, which would make it a 10-12, I believe, a round for Canelo, which is no way in freaking hell that's possible. That fight was way too close. There's no way he won 10 rounds. So, and that's the big thing that everybody's pissed about, because a lot of people, more so than not, feel Golovkin won. So the fact that the one card had a 114 draw, another card had a 115-113 for Golovkin. To have this one card for Canelo makes it look very weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I call the main takeaway I heard from the fight was that it was an awesome fight. Both fighters delivered, and of course, typically, the decision was just complete trash. It's crazy how boxing just continues to shoot itself in the foot with the same garbage that has been going on for years and years and years, decades now. I mean, at a time when they need the attention the most, because MMA is just eating away at their fan base, they have a fight like this that delivers with two big names, and they go ahead and pull this same nonsense. Do not know what's going on. I don't know if it's corruption or just poor judging or poor whatever it is needs to get rectified, because stuff like this continues to tarnish the sport. They cannot afford to let this continue, man. I mean, this was supposed to be, if they were fighting, fishing for a rematch, congratulations, you're gonna get it, and it's gonna be big money. But people are gonna keep pointing to this nonsense that keeps on ruining what should be crowning achievements in boxing. It's hard to take the sport seriously when nonsense like this just continues to happen. UFC and MMA, to their credit, have done a lot to avoid the same pitfalls that boxing got itself into, the multiple titles, the poor judging, things like that. You know what I mean? For the most part, it's all uniform, and boxing just continues to show why it has fallen off in a way that it had not fallen off before. It was the crowning sport, it was the tops in combat sports, and now they can't say that, and it's because of stuff like this. Yeah,
I mean, and funny thing is, and I believe I heard this right on the broadcast I was listening to, they brought up Hagler and Ray Leonard, which was a very controversial fight too, because, and they said, I hope this is true, because it adds so much cool history, that Ray Leonard also won 118-110 on the scorecards for that fight too, which was a fight many people thought Hagler got screwed out of, and that fight was forever marred. The controversy for that too. The only the fortunate thing is Hagler lost. At least Golovkin did not lose. Everybody kept their titles or whatever. Nobody lost. But I tell you, even if it was 115-113 Canelo, I would have been fine with that. Like I said, I felt that it was a draw. I knew it was a close fight. If somebody saw every round really, really close, and maybe something here or there went for Canelo at certain points, and he got like a couple rounds win. Oh, and that's a 1-round win. What's that? That would be 6-6 is 4-1, 14-1. So I guess 7-5. Yeah, two rounds. So 115-113 would have been 7-5. I could have lived with that because it was that kind of a close fight. There were so many rounds that were a tale of two stories. Canelo coming out good, having bounce in the step, landing some combinations, especially later in the fight. Landing good combinations, and then Golovkin would survive it, eat it, and then continue to move forward and start laying some stuff on Canelo on the rope, slowing him down and doing his stuff to win the second half. And I can see how those can be swayed here and there, but Yeah, I mean, and this is not to say that MMA doesn't have that too. MMA has a bunch of that. MMA had it even in a fight this weekend where a lot of people thought one guy should have clearly won and he lost. So it's the nature of combat sports judging, which again, it's difficult. I don't envy some of these guys in their position and how they have to call these fights, but there isn't a strict, serious, detailed guidelines of how they do this. Like, many of these guys are not former fighters, and of course, all over Twitter is a Teddy Atlas rant about the fight, yelling about none of these guys are fighters. They don't understand. I'm tired of it. I don't want to deal with this sport anymore. And it's true. I mean, that's the one thing I remember. This fighter named Ricardo Almeida, who's based. He's Brazilian, but he has a gym out of Jersey. He's the jiu-jitsu coach for guys like Frankie Edgar. I remember a few years back he got his judging license because he felt he should take it upon himself as a former fighter to be a judge, and he wanted to send a statement and set a path, a trend for other fighters and former fighters to go into the business of fighting, because they understand what's really going on in there. Like, a leg kick needs to be scored. A takedown defense needs to be scored. Same thing in boxing. Older boxers, they got to take it, or even managers, if they want these things to be right, take it upon yourself and invest and become judges. Because if you feel you guys know this more than anybody, more than a fan or an analyst like this who doesn't really know it inside the ring, they need to do it, because it's been a problem with boxing and now MMA for as long as the sports have existed, and it sucks. It's like the constant, don't want to go to the scorecards. And you shouldn't have to fight like that. You shouldn't have to put yourself in danger because you don't trust judges to get it right.
No, absolutely, and that's a good way to go. If that's a problem, if Teddy Atlas has a point with that way, a lot of these judges aren't fighters and do not, understand it, then rectify the problem. Have some fighters step up and become judges. Invest in that, because this cannot continue, man. It really is a huge hole in the boxing system, man, and it continues to be so.
Yeah. All right. I mean, that's our show for tonight. Just want to mention. Oh no, matter of fact, got one more thing I want to fit in there before we go. We got a little extra time.
Cannot forget hockey fans.
Let's talk a little
please.
hockey. Rangers training camp started this week. Now the Rangers go into the year 7 straight years in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting. Henrik Lundqvist had his worst statistical year of his career last year, going on 35 years old. It's going to be a big question of what this man has left. Rick Nash is a free agent after this year. I mean, you got to hope, just like any athlete in all these sports, they have a big year in their walk year. So hopefully they finally get the Rick Nash everybody thought they were going to get when they got him years ago. But outside of Nash and Henrik, guys like Ryan McDonough, Chris Kreider, they're young stars entering prime season, so a lot of their guys are under 30. I mean, Matt Zurella is 30. It's going to be interesting to see what the Rangers do. They're not in the conversation right now as a title contender, but they're where they're always at as a playoff team, because you got a guy like Henrik Lundqvist that even at 35 is still a damn good goalie. Yeah, no,
it's been good to see the continued success of the Rangers for the past few years, and Lundqvist has been a big part of that. Hopefully they can keep it going. It's always more exciting when the Rangers are one of those teams like the Penguins, like the Red Wings, who actually missed the playoffs last year. That was kind of crazy, or I think got bumped early, but
kind of great.
yeah. I mean, it's those teams, you either love them or you hate them, but it's always good to see them contending, and the Rangers are one of those teams. They're one of the longest standing teams in the NHL, and of course us being fellow New Yorkers, we love to see them succeeding, and it's been a good run for them, so they got to keep that going, and they got a lot of young talent that can carry the weight for at least a few years to come.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I don't know what the entire situation is, but they had some Islander preseason hockey over at the new Coliseum, which is good to see. I mean, hopefully I don't think there is any set deal for them to return to the Coliseum. I think they're still going to be based out of Brooklyn and the Barclays. But I've been to the new Coliseum now that they've renovated it. It's real cool. It's real nice. I mean, it's not on some of the levels of the Garden and stuff, but it's a nice arena. It would be everybody wants the Islanders on the island. They're called the Islanders. Brooklyn's not an island. You want them to be out on the island. So, I mean, that would be a good thing. But that's all for today's show. But that is not all for Last Word on Sports Radios, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up next after our show is the Big Apple Sports Hour, led by our former one-time guest, of our show, Matt Stopsky. Don't forget to come back at this time tomorrow for Broad and Patterson Sports. They're going to be on the 10 o'clock spot. We are here every Monday for you, a week of review of the week before, every Monday at 10 o'clock. For me, Jason Burgos, Jose Maldonado, I say bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We'll catch you guys down the road.